Welcome, everyone, to the NoDQ.com live recap of AEW Dynamite for November 26th, 2025. We are coming off AEW Full Gear. It's the end of the year for AEW, and you know what that means. It is the third Continental Classic tournament. We had several matches in that tournament take place on this show. Let's go ahead and break it down. Shout out to everybody watching this, whether it's live or on demand. I appreciate your viewership and support. Now, shout out to Dave Scheffler, who sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you, Dave. Says, would like to see Kyle Fletcher turn on Don Callis too. That's an interesting idea. We'll see what happens with Kyle Fletcher. There's a lot of possibilities as to who might leave the Don Callis family, considering the group is so massive. We opened up the show with our first Continental Classic encounter. We had Fletcher going up against the reigning Continental Champion, Okada. They shook hands. They're both members of the Don Callis family, so they had that sportsmanship. It was evenly matched between these two. And then Fletcher went on the top rope and Okada knocked the referee into the rope, which caused Fletcher to get crotched. And then after the commercial break, Fletcher returned the favor. Fletcher started to build up momentum. He connected with a superplex to Okada, but then Okada regained the upper hand. He came off the top with a big elbow, and he kept trying to go for the Rainmaker, but Fletcher was able to counter the attempts. Okada finally hit one, and then he tried to go for another one, but that did not work. Fletcher powerbombed Okada. Okada kicked out, and then Okada gouged the eyes, went for another attempt at the Rainmaker, but Fletcher countered it into a pin and got the 1-2-3 victory to pull off the first win of the tournament, beating the champion. He gets the 3 points. Okada is at 0, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Okada will lose the tournament, since there are several more matches to come, and he could catch up in the points and end up winning the whole thing. But pretty good match here to open up the show. Backstage, we had Kenny Omega being asked about the Young Bucks and if they were in fact reunited. And Omega said it was a complicated question. And he brought up how Omega, was once fooled by Don Callis, and who is he to say that the Bucks don't deserve a second chance? And then we saw the Bucks coming out of Okada's locker room. So it does appear that they are back together, and we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Next up, we had a video from Mark Briscoe after his TNT title win. He basically said that he wasn't sure if he was going to continue wrestling after his brother died. He said that even though he kept losing, he continued the fight, and he dedicated his championship to his family. Nice little promo from Briscoe. No other appearance from him on this show. We've seen this before, where sometimes they'll do a post-match interview and just throw it on Dynamite, and you don't see that guy. They did it with MJF. Still no sign of MJF, by the way. We had a tag team match. Willow Nightingale and Harley Cameron versus Skye Blue and Julia Hart in another tournament match to crown the first AEW Women's Tag Team Champions. Match was solid. Pretty standard, though. Heels had the advantage. Then Willow got the hot tag, and then Skye Blue saved Julia from being pinned. Skye and Julia double-teamed Willow. And then Harley came in, but Harley got taken out. And then there was one real mishap in this match where Julia went for her moonsault, and it wasn't a scenario where Harley moved. Julia just didn't connect with the move. And I think this is not the first time she messed up the moonsault. Looked pretty bad. Beyond that, match was all right. Willow tagged back in, pinned Julia with the sit-down power bomb, and they advance in the tournament. Next segment, we had Tony Schiavone bringing out Samoa Joe, the new AEW World Champion, and the Ops. We saw Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland with chains. Swerve had his staple gun. They arrived in the building, so Samoa Joe brought out the dojo guys, his security. It's basically J&J security or the New Blood security, any guy that has his security. They were out there surrounding the ring, and Joe had a video package shown of Hook's turn. He brought out Hook. Hook called the fans rednecks. He said he's the greatest second-generation wrestler of all time, and he said it with a straight face. Of course, we had Page and Swerve show up. They beat up the Ops Dojo guys. They hung a couple of the guys with the chains, and Samoa Joe and the Ops were able to free. Very basic segment here, and I agree with Matthew. Well, it's a question, and I say it's arguably the worst theme in wrestling right now. That Hook lounge singer thing, at least he's a heel with it, but it's so bad. So much worse than that other song he had. The other song was not great or anything, the Action Bronson song, but it was like Jim Johnston compared to this song, I have to say. Next up, we had Jon Moxley versus Máscara Dorada in one of those matches where you pretty much know there's no chance of Moxley losing. The only little bit that made me think perhaps Moxley could lose was the fact that he's on a little bit of a losing streak, and that's kind of been a storyline. But beyond that, like, when is Moxley ever losing to this random luchador? Moxley did avoid a dive and did a suicide dive of his own, but then Dorada, after getting hit with an elbow strike from Moxley as he was coming off the ramp, he did make his comeback after the commercial break, did some of his high-flying moves. It was back and forth a bit for a while, and Dorada attempted an arm submission, and the crowd did get into this since Moxley has tapped out, but Moxley did get out of that, and Dorado tried a 450 splash. He did connect with it, but Moxley kicked out of that, and then Moxley eventually regained the advantage and picked up the win with the submission. No real surprise here. This was a tournament match. Moxley gets the 3 points. And then afterwards, we had Toni Storm, Timeless Toni Storm, come into the ring, and she confronted Marina Shafir. She kept referring to Jon Moxley as Johnny, and she announced the stipulation. She brought out Mina Shirakawa, revealed that she didn't get anything for Christmas for Mina. You got, I can't even say it, Mina Shirakawa and Marina Shafir on opposite teams, but same Mina and Marina 10 times fast. She said that Tony said that the match was going to be no tags, no countouts, hardcore holiday death match. And that will be taking place next week. Tony and Mina versus Marina and Megan Bain. And it will be a death match in the tournament. And hopefully Tony doesn't lose the match that she chose. I mean, boy, oh boy, would Toni Storm and Mina look awfully foolish if they pick the match only for them to lose next week. Just throwing that out there right now for posterity. So that's next week. And then we had a little quick backstage promo from Chris Statlander, hyping up how she beat Mercedes Moné at Full Gear to retain her world title. And she's moving on now to bigger things. We had another Continental Classic tournament match. We had Darby Allin versus Kevin, don't call him LA, Knight. Back and forth match with these guys. Darby was selling his knee early on, and Knight did this moonsault off the barricade. Darby tried to fight back, but then Knight did this avalanche back suplex. And then after the commercial break, they both collided in the ring. They fought on the ramp. Knight did this flying clothesline over the top. They had that ramp that's at the same level with the ring. Small building this week. They were in Nashville. That was like a 1,500 seat small theater, and they had the ramp that goes all the way, the elevated ramp all the way right up to the ring, and they were brawling around that. Then Darby avoided a UFO splash. He hit the code red, but Knight kicked out of that. And then Knight got Darby in the corner in the Tree of Woe, and he did the coast to coast, the old Shane McMahon coast to coast drop kick, didn't injure himself, and then finished off Darby with the UFO splash to get the clean 1-2-3 victory. Kevin Knight, arguably the biggest win of his career, beating one of the pillars of AEW, Darby Allin, and they did the handshake after the match. It's a nice gesture to put somebody over like this, as Darby did, but will we really remember it a month from now? And the thing with this type of Red Robin tournament is Darby could still win the whole thing. We can get the points, and that's the only thing I really don't like. I mean, there's a couple of things I don't like about the tournament. Number one being that it's just filler for a month. But one thing I don't like is that a win doesn't necessarily mean anything, because the guy that loses can still win the tournament. So the win ultimately doesn't mean much if the guy doesn't either win the tournament or be taken to the next level. So I don't know. It's just guys trading wins, and I'm not the biggest fan. I'll say more in a few moments. Match was solid, but I wonder, what does it all mean in the end? Will Kevin Knight be a bigger star in a year? Will he just be will him and Mike Bailey be like Private Party 2.0, where they get their push, and then, Tony might move on to his next wrestlers that he wants to push, and nobody remembers Kevin Knight and Mike Bailey? I don't know. We had a backstage promo segment from Eddie Kingston. He said he didn't want to talk about Hook, and then he just hyped up a match with Shibata for Collision. Well, that's lovely. You get TV time, and you don't even want to address Hook. How exciting. We had our main event of the show, which was Orange Cassidy versus Claudio, another Continental Classic match. So if you like the Continental Classic, this is definitely a must-watch Dynamite for you. It was back and forth, but then Claudio gained the upper hand with the big swing, with sending Orange Cassidy into the barricade on the outside. And then after the commercial break, Orange started to build up momentum. He got the hands in his pockets. He did the Slumdog Millionaire. He came off the top but got hit with an uppercut. And then Claudio countered Beach Break. He did the giant swing. But then Orange Cassidy countered the uppercut with a DDT. And then he hit the Orange Punch and the Beach Break. But Claudio was able to kick out. And then Claudio came back and got the win finally with the uppercut. And he picks up the 3 points in the tournament. After the match was over, we had the Death Riders come into the ring for a celebration promo. But then Orange Cassidy tried to go after Wheeler Yuta. They attacked him. And then the Don Callis family came out, and some of the good guys in the Continental Classic, like Kevin Knight, came out there. Dorada came out there, did a moonsault to everybody to, save face a little bit after losing earlier, does a flashy move. And while all this was going on, people were fighting. We had kind of a weak AEW chant. Definitely isn't one of those classic segments where everybody's brawling and the crowd's just losing their minds. This was not it. They were all fighting, and there was a very light AEW chant, but definitely did not feel like pandemonium. Like if you go back to those old Monday Nitros or Raw in the Attitude Era, and you'd have 20 guys in the ring brawling and the crowd would be just losing their shit. This wasn't it. It was actually kind of sad. You also had Okada there watching on the stage, just scouting out his opposition for the rest of the tournament, and that was the show. So my thoughts, this isn't my cup of tea. To me, the Continental Classic is time filler for the month of December. It's the end of the year, and you got Thanksgiving, you got Christmas, and a tournament fills up TV time. You don't have to think about too much. You just put a tournament together. I'm sure Tony Khan already thought it all out, and he's like, cool, we got 4 weeks of TV now for Dynamite and Collision with this tournament, and they don't have to do much else in the way of actual storytelling. So you don't really have much to advance here with the storylines. It's the tournament, and yeah, you got the Takeshita and Okada stuff, but I don't know. It's not my cup of tea. The show was fine. I give it 5 out of 10. To me, it was an average wrestling show. Not much storyline development, but good wrestling. And if you like the tournament, then more power to you. That's awesome if you love it. It's not my thing. I prefer the one-night tournaments. I miss those. I miss the old King of the Ring, where it was the one-night tournament and the winner had to win 3 matches in one night. And they would usually get a world title match. And, you just got straight to the point. And, yeah, they did do some qualifying matches before the tournament. But at least it didn't just take up the whole show for 4 straight weeks. So, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of this tournament. Show was all right, though. I mean, there was nothing bad on it. It just isn't my cup of tea, this classic tournament, Continental Classic. I'm waiting for January. I'm ready for January. Although I don't even think they have a pay-per-view in January. So, things really don't start to pick up until we get to the Revolution build-up. So really, I'm waiting until February right now for things to get interesting. I'm waiting for MJF. I'm still waiting for him to come back. Every week I think, where's MJF? He is one of those guys that I think is sorely missed. And, he's one of the main parts of the show that I look forward to. No Hurt Syndicate on this show. No Ricochet, although they're doing the Thanksgiving Collision this year, which I am not watching. I am taking Thursday off, at least as far as watching Collision goes. But apparently Ricochet will be on that show. But we had no Hurt Syndicate on Dynamite, no MJF, so and no real follow-up with Omega beyond that little backstage promo. No Mark Briscoe celebration. No Mercedes Moné on this show either. So, just the tournament matches, and it's Thanksgiving Eve. People are doing other things, so I feel like they're not really gonna put in the effort. Although they did have Okada and Fletcher take place, but really this should be a pay-per-view match. They shouldn't just be throwing it out there on a random Dynamite when people are doing Thanksgiving stuff with their families. I don't know. Anyways, guys, that's all I have to say about Dynamite. Again, if you enjoyed the Continental Classic and that's your thing, more power to you. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the latest. It was actually a fairly newsworthy day, so check out the headlines on NoDQ.com, and I got some more posts in the works for Thursday. NoDQ.com will keep you updated. Happy Thanksgiving to those of you who celebrate in the United States. And to the rest of the world, much love to you. Hope you enjoy the rest of your week. And I think I'll be off for quite a bit. This might be the longest stretch that I've taken off in a while because we have a taped SmackDown. And not much else going on until Survivor Series. So I guess I'll be seeing you guys after Survivor Series. NoDQ.com will have live coverage. And then, of course, I will be on after Survivor Series to give my thoughts. That will be Saturday night. We already did our predictions, so check out the predictions on the YouTube channel, NoDQ.com/YouTube. If you haven't already, take care, everybody. NoDQ.com for Survivor Series coverage. Say yes to NoDQ.com, and I will see you all next time.